Today, we're going to talk about some basic striking combinations. So we talk about using the combat blueprint to fill all of our gaps in knowledge. Today we're going to be looking at some basic striking combinations. And one of the things we do in each area is we will look for high percentage answers that we can train. Generally, we're pretty limited in the amount of time that we can invest in training. So that's one of the reasons we look for those high percentage options, so that we know we're investing our training time intelligently. So today we're going to be looking at combinations with just old school jab, cross, hook, the uppercut. Why? Because they're high percentage answers. Generally, it's a good old school cross, uppercut, or a hook that will finish the fight. It's just done at the right time with the right amount of force. Another reason for this training is to educate the mechanics of your body. A lot of times when you first start striking arts, you will rely heavily on your upper body strength. So the more you train this, you'll start to rely on the unitary motion of the body. In other words, using your whole body to produce power. Later, this can be translated into multiple different weapon systems. It doesn't just have to be punching. You could do it with elbow strikes, shoulder strikes, even various forms of headbutting will use power that is produced from the body. Okay, so we're going to run through these with gear at first, but you should train these both in gear and bare knuckle, because bare knuckle training on the pads helps you learn proper alignment of the wrist and hand. It also gives you an opportunity to work additional weapon systems, which we'll do today. Commonly, we will have our training kit on. So we'll have on a gun and a knife. So even inside these drills, I could receive a signal from my coach. We commonly call it forming the V, that I need to go to a weapon system. So I have to have the ability to train that right into what I'm doing. So the first combination we're going to take a look at, we're going to look at the hands first, and then we'll just plug the feet in. So the first basic combo is cross hook cross. So you're basically training placement of the striking hand and the non-striking hand. So I want to train to have a habit of putting the hand up in a predetermined place when I try to strike. Some will work the jaw, some the temple, some will work on the forehead in different positions. Again, it's up to you what you choose, but you still plug it into the drill just to develop the habit. The next combination is cross body hook cross. So my feeder just lowers the pad. Number 3 is cross, uppercut cross. Number 4, overhand, uppercut, overhand. How about that? I knocked their head off. Number 5, we're going to do a one-handed combination. You could do this with a jab, hammer fist jab, or cross, hammer fist cross. It's up to you. We train both. It's good to have a one-armed or one-hand combination, because you may end up in a situation where you're only able to use one arm. I've spent about 10 years doing that in my career due to an injury. You also may end up in different positions where you're holding yourself up with one arm. For instance, on the ground and you have to strike, which is another reason to take a look at one-handed or one-armed combinations. So we got to run through some of those basic combinations. I wanted to take a second to look at some of the fundamental mechanics that you're ingraining in your body. We talked about earlier, that's one of the main reasons to do these, is to train your body, to train better mechanics into your body. So on the basic cross hook cross, one of the key things I want to keep an eye on is not putting unnecessary stress on the knee joint. So if you watch my knee joint, this is pretty common. As I do that cross hook cross, the knee joint will go side to side. Now, a lot of times this happens because of tension in the inguinal tendon area. So I want to create the mechanic in the hip, not the knee. You'll see when I do that, I crease in the knee really moves forward and back like it's supposed to and not side to side, because most of the creasing action is happening in the hip. Now this is uncommon. That's one of the reasons you want to train, is to take that stress out of your knee and get it closer to the center of the body. One of the other things that you want to take into consideration is what your back foot is doing. So if I'm moving, I can move my upper body without moving that, but that also places stress on your knee. We nicknamed this squashing the bug. And we want to be able to train that mechanic in the body as well. Once we have those basic hand combinations, you can add in kicking. We're going to plug in a lead leg round kick. You can hit with the top of the foot on this, or you can use the toe of the shoe. We have shoes on today, so we're going to be firing more with the toe. So my partner can stack the mitts and hold them at a slight angle. Generally, we want them to not be too close to, because they're going to draw me in, or I'm entering with this kick. I'm outside of range, and I have to go over there to get in range for the hand combination. So when you start your partner, have them feed with a slight distance so you'll have room to enter. So we train with gear. You always want to put a couple of rounds in empty hand. And one of the reasons is because it helps you with the alignment and placement of the wrist and hand. If you're always training in gloves, sometimes you don't get this ingrained in the body. And if you have to hit something outside of training equipment, you will end up paying for it. All right, so another reason for training empty hand is it allows the option to plug in your weapon systems. So what we use is a signal that we blend into our pad work. I'll give her the cue to present the weapon system. That way you get just as many repetitions in with your striking as you do with your dry fire presentation. The signal we use we call forming the V. And with a one arm, it just looks like this. I'm just forming this shape. For me, I do two. I'll go on this side just to represent me lifting the shirt for a concealed carry, and I'll put this one in this position just to represent going for some sort of weapon system on the belt line. That's her signal to just back up and do her presentation. Now she doesn't know when it's coming, and I just blend it in with the combinations that we're already playing. So on that drill, I am using pads to feed her. We will also train in the environment we call body as a pad. So we build up to the point where we're using each other's bodies to train this. So what I have to do with the handwork is I have to navigate range very well. If I'm too close, generally I'm going to get hit. So I have to be in a good position so I can work my catches, blocks on her strikes. And generally, if she's playing the kick, they're just going to place it inside of the thigh. Doing this gives me the opportunity to put on equipment as well. So now I can go to a presentation to give her a visual cue of what she needs to do. This also allows us to plug in different types of weaponry. I could present a blade, and so we can start to bring those two spectrums together in our training. That should give you some fundamentals for your striking. We borrowed this information from Junfan Gung Fu, but there are many different systems and options for you to borrow information to work on your striking game. We also pull information from Burmese Bondo, Cambodian boxing, Thai boxing, STX kickboxing, and multiple other systems. We chose this set because it's a basic set that you can get started on if you haven't worked on this type of material before. In addition to that, today we're training in open space. This is very similar to the type of training that we would play inside the academy. We're at an office park today, and so we have some really awesome areas to train that we're getting ready to go work on. One of them is we'll be doing these combinations in a stairwell. Another one is we'll end up doing it against a wall. Like this surface is fantastic because of how it's built. It could limit your motion. You still have to figure out your mechanics and how you're going to deliver force. Okay, to wrap things up, I want to give credit where credit is due. Say thanks, because a lot of this information comes from Guru Dan Anasano and Professor Eric Paulson. One thing you could add into this drill is some weaponry training. If you would like to take a look at one of my other videos that focuses on the blade or the knife, you can check that out up here. Okay people, if you like what you're seeing on the channel and you're getting value out of it, please like and subscribe, give us a follow. My partner would greatly appreciate that.